Hello, once again, and welcome to Recycled Garbage, that one channel that no one tunes into. Today, we're doing the same thing a lot of YouTubers do. We're making a tier list, and it's about a bunch of bands. But yeah, that's what we're doing today.
All right, well, I guess let's start ranking them.
Yep, we've already sunk this low. All right, let's start off. So we're just gonna go in order here. I don't really give a crap. 21 Pilots. For me, they're D tier. They're a more modern band, like out of all these. But I don't think they're horrible, but I don't love them either. That's just me.
Pretty much. Nothing else to say. Pretty mad band.
Then Aerosmith is the next one. I just think they're average. I kind of think they're overrated. What about you?
Pretty much the same. Overrated band. Still has some good tunes. Dream On, of course, and Walk This Way. But let's forget the '90s existed for this band.
Yeah. Then next is what I can only make out to be Alice in Chains. They don't really show the full picture, but
A tier.
A tier for both of us. They're a legendary grunge band, and probably didn't survive very well after the death of Lane Staley, but still have their place in history and music.
I think before Lane's death, I don't think they made a bad album.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Very true. And here's one of the big four, Anthrax. I personally don't know where to rank them.
I guess C tier. They're pretty average, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't mind them, but I don't really listen to them that much either. So I guess we'll just move on. Black Sabbath is the next one. I guess in music history, you'd put them in the S tier because they really are the foundations of metal music. But for me, I put them in A tier.
Maybe even B tier.
Perhaps I don't even know.
I mean, there's a lot of the Dio fans of Sabbath. Personally, it's got to be Ozzy, in my opinion. Not saying Dio is bad for Ozzy because Dio's a great singer, but the classic Black Sabbath sound is with Ozzy, and that's when they made their best music.
I suppose just for good measure at the moment, we'll just put them in the B tier. The next is Bon Jovi. Oh boy, Bon Jovi. You know what? Just give me your thoughts on this one. I don't even want to talk about Bon Jovi.
So, I probably put them either C or D, honestly, because Slippery When Wet has some good songs. It's still an overrated band. I guess C.
I guess we'll just stick them in C tier for now. They got their hits, but all right. This next one is called
Death Grips.
Death Grips.
I mean, a lot of people really like Death Grips. I don't think I've listened to enough of them to properly rank them.
Neither have I personally, so I guess we'll just stick it there. Def Leppard, probably one of the most annoying hair metal bands for me, but they're legendary, so
still created good music in the 80s. The 90s era, Def Leppard, and what they've done to Vivian Campbell now is atrocious.
Then this next one, Fall Out Boy.
Okay, first controversial one, probably put him F tier.
Yeah, I agree. I love Patrick Stump. He's a good dude, but his music's not. I'm sorry.
They have a half decent album. Everything else is pretty bad.
All right, the next is Genesis. They're hit or miss for me.
This is really hard to rank. For me, who listens to a lot of prog. A lot of people don't like Phil Collins because of what he did to the band. The Peter Gabriel stuff was still decent, so I'd still put him in C tier.
Yeah, kind of like I said, they're hit or miss, but they definitely got some good songs. Guns N' Roses is the next one. You know what? Me and Jeff here, we both kind of share the same opinion on them. We don't love them as much as everyone else. I'm sorry I had to do it. D tier.
Yeah, pretty much. Half a good album, maybe album and a half good. Axl Rose is kind of the whole reason he's annoying, and he's not that good of a singer. Yeah, I said it. Come at me.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the worst Well, I guess I don't know. Some people like him for his rebellious side. You know what? I just don't like Guns N' Roses. All right, next is Imagine Dragons. I think we both know the answer to that one.
F tier.
F tier. They had like one or two good songs, but man, they are just soccer mom radio.
Yeah, pretty much. Next is Iron Maiden. I'm definitely a bigger Iron Maiden fan than you, so personally, I put them in S tier,
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I
especially
guess
for their importance to the new wave of British heavy metal. I mean, they've still been around for almost 40 years now, and they still sell out stadiums while not getting that much airplay. I think that's legendary.
they've definitely had their share of success, which, of course, yeah. I guess I can agree there. I'll pretty much give the same reason to Judas Priest. I'll put them up high because of their influence. Led Zeppelin, we already know where
Easy
that's
S
going.
tier.
All right, Limp Bizkit, ladies and gentlemen, the
Okay.
man, the myth, the legend.
Fred Durst.
F tier.
Pretty much. Significant Other is halfway decent album, I guess.
He had fun with it, I guess I could tell you that.
There's still songs on there that are really bad.
Yeah.
And again, Fred Durst sucks as a rapper and as a lyricist. And if you take a look at anything else in their discography, you will be horrified.
Yeah, it's
Especially their first album, $3 Bills. Y'all, that thing is pretty much unlistenable, just like Gold Cobra, their latest album.
that was his comeback album, and it was about as underwhelming as you could have predicted. So moving on, same with new metal, Linkin Park, S tier.
Yeah, the first two albums are pretty much untouchable, and that's kind of what cements them in S tier. One More Light was very disappointing, and it's sad that that was the last piece of music that we got from Chester Bennington before his passing with Linkin Park.
Yeah,
And as well as I might not be a fan of it, it still has its fans. And I think Linkin Park still could have done a really good job with that album. I don't think they were inspired as much as their other works were.
I personally agree with just those first 2.5 albums. Those really just cemented their legacy in new metal history. Pretty much legends in that category.
Megadeth.
Megadeth is the next one. Personally, I don't listen to them that much, and I'd like to get into them. So you take it away.
So Megadeth was in Metallica, Dave Mustaine, who formed Megadeth. And I think why a lot of people, including myself, probably put them higher than Metallica is because of the fact that they didn't have their, I guess, Black Album until the late 90s, which is really bad. However, Rust in Peace is one of the greatest metal albums of all time. And I think that's kind of what puts them, at least for me, in A tier, since they have a lot of bad albums, especially in, well, last decade, we'll call it, the 2010s.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, next band is Metallica.
Kind of have to put them in S tier.
Yeah, they're definitely the most legendary metal.
Despite the fact that I might like Megadeth more, because especially Metallica's From Saint Anger onward is kind of very hit or miss.
Well, I'd say even just from Load or Reload.
True. Their first 4 or 5 albums,
including the Black Album, that was still a good album.
They're
even
really
though
good.
That's really when a lot of people like to say they sold out. It's still a good album. But yeah, personally, I just think Metallica has cemented their legacy.
You gotta put them in S tier.
Yeah. Next band is MGMT. So this is a band I did not expect to be on here. I'll put them in the B tier. I haven't really listened to them that much aside from 1.5 albums.
Neither have I, so I can't really be the judge of that.
The album I did listen to, which was what's it called? Oracular Spectacular, I really loved, and is personally for me a 2000s nostalgic piece. But like Jeffrey said, there's really not much to listen to there. So Motley Crue is the next one. I'd say either B or A tier for me.
I personally might put them in C tier.
I'm gonna stick with B tier.
Probably. Motley Crue, I guess, is important to the fact that they're one of the pioneers of hair metal. I guess they very much so got big off of it, and it's not like they didn't produce great music. It's just I will only listen to a select handful of songs from this band, and the drama that was in the band usurps everything else about the music or musicianship, which is a shame.
Yeah, so moving on. People are probably gonna disagree with me here, but I'm putting Muse in A tier. Um, I'm sorry, I really like Muse. A lot of people will say they're on the downward spiral, which I can sort of agree with. They've definitely been moving away from what they're traditionally used to, but I still think they're worth a listen.
Yeah, I'll agree that Muse is definitely either B or A tier. Yeah, Simulation Theory, isn't as good as, well, let's say Black Holes and Revelations, but Muse's first four albums, I would say, are some of the best music to come out during that time in general. Definitely unique sound wise, and Matt Bellamy does have a unique voice.
A lot of people do like hating on Muse just for, I'd say, the start that what was it? The Resistance started in like 2010 when they started becoming stadium rock, kind of just sellouts, I guess you could say. I don't really know. Um, but yeah, for me, Simulation Theory, their latest album, was their weakest, and it's really not a good sign of things to come. But I still think Muse is, for me, a legendary alternative band. And this next band
My
here,
Chemical Romance. Personally, I have not listened to My Chemical Romance, so I really can't
nor
say
have
much.
I. I'm really sorry. We probably just pissed off a whole entire group of fan bases. But it's okay. No one really listens to us anyway, so it's just empty words. So we're just gonna put them at don't know them.
Nickelback, F tier.
Eh,
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's F tier. And the reason why I'll say that is, and why they're not in D, is because, okay, you could say sure Nickelback's first album, but Silver Side Up is an atrocious album. Chad Kroger has even stated that he took stuff that was on the radio and reworked Nickelback songs so it would become radio hits. The next album from 2005, which had 7 radio singles and none of them good. Yeah, it's a big joke on the internet to hate Nickelback, but I genuinely have never liked Nickelback's music.
To be fair, Nickelback does have its fan base, but obviously not for us. All right, moving on. Next is Nine Inch Nails. For me, it's an easy S tier.
Yeah, uh, I'll say Nine Inch Nails, despite for me personally not having the best discography in the world, definitely has its albums. I mean, of course, you have the Downward Spiral and Pretty Hate Machine, my personal favorite album. The Fragile's also very good in the Broken EP.
Yeah, I agree. For me, I love pretty much every single Nine Inch Nails album. Even their worst ones still have something that's worth a listen. Um, of course, with Hesitation Marks, their last official studio album release. I guess if you don't want to count Ghosts in 2020, which on its own, Ghost is really good as well. But Hesitation Marks gets a lot of hate just because Trent Reznor recreated a lot of his sound, but I think that's what's unique about him. He's really good at expressing his emotions through sound. So next is Nirvana. Honestly, I'm sorry, they're B.
Yeah, they are very much so an overrated band. I know it's easy for all the hipsters to wear the Nirvana shirt and with the smiley face with the logo and say, "Oh, I'm such a big Nirvana fan." Both Nevermind and In Utero kind of have their really kind of weird songs that I'm not really into. Uh, Now, I'm not saying Nirvana's bad, of course, they're not bad, but I think where they ended was probably maybe their natural conclusion. I don't think they would have created anything better than In Utero or Nevermind to begin with, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
Nirvana's kind of a touchy subject for us just because of how we view them and how the public views them. We're not trying to be controversial or anything. This is just really how we feel. We actually kind of listen to Nirvana, and while they definitely have their place in grunge history and are considered the biggest grunge band of all time, I really just don't see why. Aside
I'd,
from
I'd honestly say they're the big four of grunge, which Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, Nirvana. The Nirvana is the worst of them, even though they're the pioneers.
yeah, is largely in part due to Kurt Cobain. He was such a huge figure. He was popular. He went against what everyone said, and everyone loved him for that. Which we love Kurt Cobain, but Nirvana, it's just okay. Next is Panic at the Disco. Um, this one's an interesting one for us. Personally, I got to put them in either B or C tier.
I have not listened to enough Panic at the Disco's discography to really give an accurate feeling, I guess. I mean, I Write Sins Not Tragedies, but that's the only Panic song I've heard. So
Personally, from what I've heard, I like Brandon Urie. He's an awesome artist. They just make really fun music. So yeah, again, we don't really have enough of a basis to go off of. We could put them in Don't Know Them, but I think C is just fine for now. Next is Pantera. You want to take it away?
so I guess B tier I think would be fine for Pantera. If you remove the first 3 or 4 albums from the discography, I think it would be much stronger. Obviously, for those of you who do know, they were a glam metal band. As soon as they switched to their heavier sound and became more of the groove metal, that's where they found their real sound and really took off. Um, but yeah, rest in peace, Vinnie Paul and Dimebag Daryl. You'll be missed. But yeah, Pantera is probably B tier, I'd say.
All right, that's fair. Next is Pearl Jam, like Jeffrey just mentioned, is one of the big four grunge bands of the '90s. Um, I'd say A tier for me.
Yeah, I would say A tier. 10 in verses, pretty much untouchable.
Even No Code has its place.
Just
That period from the late '90s to 2000s is keeping them from the S tier for me.
it was pretty rough for them. Of course, they have their good songs in there, but the albums were
They were rough.
they're very rough. They weren't complete, and I guess they did that on purpose too because of how big they were getting. But
Pretty much commercial
Vitology was
commercial
had-
suicide. I don't know.
it kind of had that weird sound, and we'll get to another one of those bands here pretty soon that committed that social suicide.
But for me, I still like Pearl Jam. With their last 2 album releases, Lightning Bolt and Gigaton, I think they're on the upward spiral. I think they're doing really good right now, and I'm really happy for them.
Pink Floyd.
All right, next is Pink Floyd. I don't know.
That one's kind of rough.
If I don't put them in the S tier, people are gonna yell at me. If I don't put them in the A tier, people are gonna think that they're overrated. I don't really know. This is probably the toughest one.
So, The Wall, Dark Side of the Moon, and Wish You Were Here. Those 3 albums cement them definitely in A or S. I can't really get into early Pink Floyd.
They are very different.
It's kind of hard to do so. I mean, I love Pink Floyd. They're a great band. I love The Wall as much as the next person. And I think Learning to Fly is one of their best songs, even though, Roger Waters had nothing to do with it. I think what keeps it out of S tier is a lot of that early work. It's kind of hard to get into
They have
personally.
a lot of stuff you need to go through if you want to go through the whole experience of
But
Pink Floyd.
I think from that stretch, from Dark Side of the Moon, The Wall, Wish You're Here, and Animals should be must listen for most people.
All right, do you want to get into the toughest one out of them all? Queen?
Queen, yikes.
For me personally, they're a B.
I probably put them in C, my personal list, but we can put them in B. I really don't like Queen.
I don't love them either, but their hits really just cement them.
I don't
as
ever
legends.
need to hear Bohemian Rhapsody ever again, despite how much people love it. It is a good song. I don't need to hear it again.
Yeah, it's one of those songs you'll hear every day. I'm surprised it hasn't eventually graded on everyone at this point because it's been going on since its release pretty much every day.
Personally, I think the first Queen album is probably the best. Killer Queen is also another great song. So I wouldn't call Queen bad, but it definitely grades on me a lot, and that's why I personally don't like them a
That's
lot.
why I'm sticking them at the B tier. But moving on, because I don't want to talk about Queen anymore, is Radiohead. This is just my personal opinion. I think they're S tier.
Personally, I'd probably put them in A tier, but S tier is probably deserving, especially because of the Bends, OK Computer, and of course Kid A. As you know, I'm not probably put Kid A at third.
I don't love Kid A. For me, my personal ranking would go In Rainbow's number one. Or, I'm always flip flopping with my top three, but it stays the same. It's OK Computer, In Rainbows, and the Bends.
Although personally, I'm not like the other Radiohead fans out there. I actually like Pablo Honey. Yes, you can laugh all you want.
You're not a Radiohead fan, then, apparently.
No, don't just disregard it because they don't. The band says they don't like it. Wasn't the sound that they wanted. Creep, You, Anyone Can Play Guitar are all very interesting alternative songs. If you want to call them grunge songs, I don't think you should just cast those songs aside. I believe they deserve
Blah,
a
blah,
lesson.
blah. No one cares. How about their latest release, though? A Moon Shaped Pool. I think they still got it. And
It's a good album.
they haven't released any music for a long time, but I don't know. All right, moving on.
R.E.M.
R.E.M. I put them in A tier. I love R.E.M.
R.E.M.'s a great band.
Yeah, they're really underrated. Like of course you could pick out those easy hits like It's the End of the World as We Know It, Everybody Hurts,
Losing My Religion.
Losing My Religion. But a lot of their lesser known songs, like the whole first album, Murmur. I love that album. It's a good one.
It's a great album.
Then of course my favorite is Automatic for the People. Probably an easy choice, but
For most people, yeah, I'd probably go with Automatic for the People. I think it's a complete album. It has some really nice deep cuts to it. Ignorland and Sweetness Follows, which is a really heartbreaking song.
the whole entire album itself is just incredibly depressing. It's hard to listen to. But really, REM, what keeps it from the S tier is once they lost their original drummer, they started falling hard. Up was a rough album. Then that one Sunshine album, I don't even want to talk about it. It's rough.
It is rough.
All right,
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Red Hot Chili Peppers, B for me.
Yeah, I probably personally put them in A tier, but B tier is fine. The early, more funky stuff is probably what keeps them from being there for most people. I think it's fine, but of course, you gotta see from Blood Sugar Sex Magic, Californication. By the way, Stadium Arcadium is great, and Red Hot Minute is still good. A lot of people
If you're
don't
going
like
off,
that.
if you're going off of that Watch Mojo list, they don't know jack shit because a lot of people loved that album.
It's really good.
It's really good.
Anyways,
Rolling Stones. I'm just gonna have to put them in S tier for legacy alone. You hear their songs every single day on the radio. It's hard to deny their legacy.
Even though you say their 80s and 90s were very rough, the 60s and 70s you could not touch the Rolling Stones.
And even then, they're still making music now, believe it or not. They're still selling out concerts. They're old as hell, but
Yeah, I just saw them live before,
pandemic,
COVID. Yeah. So Smashing Pumpkins, the band that I was referring to that committed social suicide with their music, A tier is definitely deserving.
I was assuming Radiohead for you. They did that too, but Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah, I guess I'll talk about them more. I listen to them more. Basically, Gish is a really good album, and then they got really big off Siamese Dream and Melancholy Infinite Sadness, and Billy Corgan says, I'm going to release Adore, or else I might actually commit suicide, is what he said. And Adore is still good. Adore is still good. A lot of the newer stuff from Smashing Pumpkins is pretty meh, but overall A tier.
All right. Well, again, this is just kind of mixing me and Jeffrey's opinions together. So I'm sure you would have put Smashing Pumpkins in S tier, but I don't know. For me, it's A tier. I love Smashing Pumpkins, but I haven't listened to them enough to gain that much of an opinion. But moving on is Sonic Youth.
This is probably one that everyone would be mad at us for not knowing, but I don't know. I
don't know.
I haven't listened to Sonic Youth. We're sorry.
I'm sorry.
Soundgarden.
Soundgarden, A tier or S tier. I don't know.
Uh,
It's tough
that
because
is
that
tough.
first album is incredible.
The final one of the big four.
This is tough. You know, I might just stick it in the same category as Alice in Chains. If Alice in Chains can't be S tier, then neither can Soundgarden.
Yeah. Super Unknown is all you have to know. It's one of the best albums of the '90s, front to back. It's really good. Bad Motorfinger, also another one of their big albums, but you know, after they broke up and started doing their separate stuff, kind of, you know,
Yeah.
fell off.
All right. Next is Talking Heads. This is one of those bands I've been meaning to get into a lot, but I
Same.
still have never gotten into them. So I'm sorry, I don't know them.
From what I've heard, I like them.
I'm sure.
The Beatles.
The Beatles. We already know where
Easy-
that's going.
Easy S tier. I don't think we need to elaborate on that.
Yeah, that's yeah. The
The
Cure,
Cure.
S tier
Cure.
for me as well.
Same.
If you know a single person who doesn't have a Cure song in their playlist, then they simply do not exist. I'm gatekeeping here. I'm sorry. I love The Cure that much.
The Cure are so good, and yeah, they definitely deserve S tier. People deciding on albums and the fan base is kind of decisive because we have some unpopular opinions, but all around,
They had a
Cure-
few rough patches in the beginning just because Robert and his bandmates did not know what to do with their sound. But as they grew on, like I'd say from Kiss Me or The Head on the Door from then on out is just spectacular.
Yes, and everyone has a song from Disintegration in their playlist. Probably, I mean, Love Song, Pictures of
Or
You.
even Wish. That's a really solid album.
Yes.
One of the more lovable forgotten 90s albums in my opinion.
Killers.
Next is The Killers. I think we all know a song by The Killers. A song or two.
I don't think we still
I
have
really
enough
haven't-
to rank them.
A lot of people love them, but
Of course,
personally
Mr.
haven't listened.
Brightside is great, but I haven't listened to enough of the Killers to actually rank them.
Yeah, so right now, inconclusive. I apologize. I really want to get into The Killers. The Police. S or A tier. I don't know.
I mean, if we're gonna go out, you might as well put them in S tier.
Yeah, they made a lot of hits. Put simply.
They have a lot of variety in their sound.
Very unique band. At
Big
the time.
hit makers. Didn't stay for around too long. Sting went his own solo way, and yikes, does that stuff get rough.
Yeah. So moving on is the short-lived band, The Smiths. I love The Smiths. They're A tier.
Yes, the Smiths are great.
It's
How Soon
un-
Is Now, This Charming Man, Ask, just a whole variety of good songs. Morrissey is kind of a
That's the only reason why they're still not a band is because of that douchebag.
although we love the Smiths and the Cure, but you know Robert Smith and Morrissey hate each other. That's kind of a funny thing.
Well, it's more Morrissey hates Robert Smith. Robert didn't even do anything, but
yeah, the Smiths make great music.
they make great music. Horrible person Morrissey is, but great music. The Who, S tier. I don't know.
You could probably give the argument for. You could probably make the argument for Who to be in the S tier. Personally, probably A tier.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree. I love Who's Next. Everyone does. That's where they got all their hits.
Probably don't need a lot of deliberation. Who's good?
Yeah. Next is U2, the Stadium Rock, people. C tier for me personally. I don't know.
Joshua T. Is a very important album. I mean, a lot of people like to say it's underrated.
I like the Joshua Tree.
Atoon Baby's also good, but a lot of people like to hate U2.
It's true.
They're not that bad. I mean, they had some bad albums. I mean, 2014 they decided to put their whole album on everyone's phones, but look, the good U2 stuff. Don't listen to Pop because Pop is pretty crap.
Yeah, U2. I think they're just okay personally. Then this last band, the very last one.
Yes,
What?
another progressive rock band.
I was gonna ask what the hell is Yes. I've never heard of Yes.
You know the dumb meme that used roundabout that stupid meme.
Thanks, Jeffrey.
Starship Troopers great. Chris Squire is one of Probably a very important bassist for players out there everywhere. Um, Probably B tier, I'd say.
Well, it's your judgment. I have no idea who the hell Yes is. And there
That's
you
a
have
shame.
it. This is our stupid tier list that we spent a lot of dumb time on. Um, Subscribe because I told you to, and you're all fat. Goodbye.
I was gonna say click the like button, but
Don't click the like button. In fact, dislike it as many times you can. Press it 2 times if you really hate us.
okay,
Okay.
we're done.
Yep. Goodbye.